You kids don't know the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk. This was the fighter that carried the Allies through some of the toughest battles of World War II. From the skies over North Africa to the jungles of the Pacific, the Warhawk proved itself as a rugged and reliable workhorse. But how did it stack up against its rivals? And what made it so legendary? Buckle up. We're diving into the full story of the P-40 Warhawk. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Designed in the late 1930s, the P-40 was built by Curtiss Wright and powered by an Allison V1710 liquid-cooled V12 engine. It wasn't the fastest or the highest flying, but what it lacked in top-end performance, it made up for in toughness and adaptability. With 6.50 caliber machine guns and a rugged airframe, it was built to take a beating and dish one out. The P-40's development came at a time when air combat was rapidly evolving. The aircraft was a direct descendant of the Curtiss P-36 Hawk, an earlier fighter with a radial engine. Engineers at Curtiss modified the airframe to house the powerful inline Allison engine, streamlining the design for better aerodynamics. This gave the Warhawk a distinctive long-nose profile and allowed it to achieve speeds of over 350 miles per hour. Despite lacking a turbocharger, which limited its high-altitude capabilities, the P-40 excelled in rugged frontline conditions. Its simple, sturdy design meant it could be maintained in remote locations with minimal resources. Many pilots appreciated its ability to take severe damage and keep flying, a testament to its durability. Its rugged landing gear also made it ideal for rough airfields, allowing it to operate in diverse theaters like North Africa, the Pacific, and China. Early versions of the Warhawk had issues, such as limited rearward visibility and cockpit ergonomics that pilots found cumbersome. However, later models like the P-40E and P-40N introduced improved armor protection, more powerful armament, and better visibility, making it a more formidable foe in the hands of experienced pilots. You ever hear of the Flying Tigers? Before the U.S. even entered the war, American volunteer pilots took their Warhawks to China, fighting against the Japanese invasion. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but they had a strategy: hit fast, dive away, don't get caught turning with the zeros. And it worked. The P-40's speed in a dive gave them an edge, and those shark-mouthed killers racked up victories in the skies over Burma. Flying the Warhawk took guts. It wasn't the most forgiving fighter. It was heavy, and without a turbocharger, it struggled above 15,000 feet. But at lower altitudes, it was a brawler. It could dive faster than most Axis fighters, and its guns could rip a target apart in seconds. Pilots learned to use its strengths: dive, strike, climb out, and never, ever turn fight a zero. The P-40 had a high wing loading, which meant it didn't turn as tightly as some of its contemporaries, making it a poor choice for prolonged dogfights. However, its rugged build allowed it to take hits and keep flying, a trait that pilots learned to appreciate in combat. Its control response was solid, though at higher speeds the aileron stiffened, requiring a firm hand on the stick. The Warhawk also had excellent ground handling, making it a favorite for operations in rugged airfields across the Pacific and North Africa. Though not the top performer at high altitudes, the P-40 was a pilot's aircraft, one that rewarded skill and discipline. Those who understood its strengths and fought accordingly found it to be a reliable and deadly war machine. One such pilot was Lieutenant Robert Jungle Jones. Over the jungles of New Guinea, he was outnumbered 3-1. His wingman had been shot down, and his fuel was running low. But Jones didn't back down. He dove into the fray, guns blazing, taking out 2 enemy planes before making a break for home. With his canopy shattered and fuel leaking, he nursed his P-40 back, landing with nothing but fumes in the tank. His Warhawk, riddled with bullets, had saved his life. The P-40 wasn't just an American fighter, it was a global war machine. British forces called it the Tomahawk, and later models were known as Kittyhawks. The Soviets received them through the Lend-Lease program and used them effectively against German bombers. Even the Australians, South Africans, and Canadians fielded Warhawks, adapting them for different battlefield conditions. Each variant had slight improvements: better armor, more fuel capacity, upgraded guns, but they all retained the same rugged spirit. While other aircraft surpassed it in speed and climb rate, the P-40 remained in frontline service throughout the war, proving that toughness and reliability could be just as valuable as raw performance. The P-40 may not have been the fastest, the highest flying, or the most advanced, but it was a warrior's machine. It carried its pilots through some of the toughest fights of the war and became a legend in its own right. And for the men who flew them, the Warhawk wasn't just a plane, it was a lifeline. This has been You Kids Don't Know. If you want more Warbird stories, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next mission. Until then, keep your airspeed up and your six clear.